that the Alter Rebbe uses a certain strategy of motivation. Part of the strategy, one of the first things that he establishes, there's some sort of hisbeinenus, there's something we do intellectually, there's some sort of emotional thing that we do, and there's some sort of practical visualization that we do. And we establish a target behavior. And he does this over and over again, quite a number of times. When we're teaching the kids, if they do a Yiras strategy, the kids know Mem Aleph Bal Peh. If they know actually how to do the mental strategy of it, and an Ava strategy, it causes harmony inside. And also harmony on a social level with other people. If you have harmony inside, you have harmony on a social level. Today I want to focus on the strategy of Yira, which is Perek Mem Aleph, which the kids know Bal Peh. What are the three key components of Mem Aleph? He starts off with an intellectual strategy, hisbeinenus, something to observe, reflect on. Then he goes on to Kabbalah's Yiras Shamayim, which is receiving the kingship of Hashem. It's an emotional thing to do. We receive with our heart, and we commit to keep Hashem's rules. And the third thing is he gives you a practical visualization of what to do, of how to do things. You should be behaving as if you're being recorded on camera all the time. And that's, there's an eye that sees, the ear that hears, V'hinei Hashem nitzav alav, and he gives you a visualization to stand in front of the king. But before we do this, the kids also learn the very beginning of Mem Aleph Bal Peh. And what is the purpose of learning the very beginning of Mem Aleph Bal Peh? We should really just start from the words Lizbeinen, b'machshavte, right almost in the middle of the page. Al kopanim gadlu saints of Baruch Hu. Why do we need the beginning? And what we're doing is we're establishing the criteria for this strategy to be effective. And the first thing that we establish, one of the first things that we establish, is the target behavior. You want to start off with a target behavior. You get the kids to pick their own target behavior. What do you want to be able to do after this strategy to be able to achieve, which you're not necessarily achieving so far? What's your target behavior? And our target behavior as teachers is that the kids do the moment of silence, because the Rebbe presented these three concepts to public school kids as a moment of silence. So if it's for public school kids, Kal v'chemer for our kids, every day they can do a moment of silence in the morning. First we establish the foundation, which is Anechi Avai Elokecha. I am Hashem, the creator of the world. The Hashem is a Beira, creator, and a Manhig, and he runs the world. That is the foundation. That's the end of the first part of the strategy. The second part of the strategy is now keep the rules. Lo yisirtzach, commit to keeping Hashem's rules. That's the Kabbalah part of the strategy. It's the emotional part of the strategy. Kabbalah, the Kabbalah's Malchus. Malchus is the idea of keeping the rules. A melech makes laws. So the second part of the strategy is I am committing to the Malchus, means that I'm committing to keep the rules, to keep the laws. And the third part of the strategy, the way the Rebbe said it on the video that I saw, was tell the kids that there's an ayin roya v'ozen shamas, which is a visualization. Visualize yourself. There's an eye that sees, and this everything that you say and everything that you do is being recorded. The Rebbe said, if a teacher would have one time said the third part of the strategy from the heart to the boy that shot President Reagan, when he was holding the gun in his hands, he would have had a flashback to that time when the teacher was saying it, and he wouldn't have taken the shot. And let's go back to the beginning, the foundation. The foundation is there's a creator of the world, and he runs the world. This three-part strategy is really explained at length in Perek Mem Beis. The same three-part strategy that is taught in the beginning of chapter 41 is taught at length in chapter 42, but in a different order. In chapter 42, the order is the normal order of waking up in the morning. The Shulchan Aruch says that the first thing we do is actually the third part of the strategy in chapter 41, and the Alter Rebbe spends a long time explaining the third part of the strategy. The next thing we do is we go to Shul and we see Hashem's creation, and it says in Shulchan Aruch that before we daven we have an obligation to reflect on Remu Musakel, the greatness of Hashem. So that is actually the first part of the strategy in chapter 41. And then we say Shema, and then afterwards we bow down in Shemona Esrei, and that's when we accept the kingship of heaven, which is the second part of the strategy in chapter 41. So chapter 41 is if we're developing Yiras Shamayim on its own. We can take a look at page Samach Aleph. And he says, how do you do the first part of the strategy? By the first word of the line is ha'ikar, right by the ha'ara. He says, ha'ikar hu ha'hergel. The main thing is making a habit. Lahargel daite machshavte. To make a habit in your attention, or machshavte, and your thoughts, tamid, all the time, li'es kavua belibe, that it should be set in your heart, u'meicha, in your brain, tamid, all the time. Asher kol masheraya, whatever you see, be'einav, with your physical eyes, hashamayim va'aretz, the heaven and earth, u'malaya, and everything in it, hakol heim levushim hachitzenim shel hamelach hakadosh baruch hu. They are all just coats, like an external garment of Hashem. Valideza yisko tamid al pnimiyusam, and then that's how you're going to remember what's inside them. In other words, it's a puppet show. See the world like a puppet show. When you see the trees moving, it's really Hashem is inside them moving, and it's like clothes, and you just see the clothes. And it says that people are levush pnimi, the neshamas. We said before Shabbos, minayu parchim nishmasim, that the levush pnimi is humans in general. Especially Yidden, are the levush pnimi of the Eibishter, and the levush achitzin of the Eibishter, the coat, is everything else you see in the world. Whether you see the birds, whether you see the trees, or anything moving in the sky, the clouds, it's like a puppet show, and Hashem is inside them. And it's creating that habit, and that's the hisbonenus, that's the first part of the strategy. So the basic idea is that there's an Eibishter that creates the world and runs the world. But then you can keep on upgrading this strategy to make it more advanced and more mature. Till it becomes part of you, and that's the foundation. The second part is the commitment, and the third part is more visualization on yourself. Okay, I see that this is the Eibishter, now how do I behave? Like, how do I behave? That's the practical, that Hashem's watching me. Now it's time to visualize myself. So in the moment of silence, you do all three strategies. You think about how Hashem created the world in kindness, and He runs the world. Then you commit to keep Hashem's rules. And then you see yourself doing the target behavior in a way that Hashem's watching you. Like whatever your target behavior is. Now, what we want from the students, that our target behavior, is that they actually do this strategy every day, that they do that moment of silence every day, whether it's in school. But we want it to become a habit, that they do it on their own, that it becomes part of their life, that in the morning, that's one of the things they do when they say brachas. They go through this strategy in their mind, and they create a target behavior, and we get them used to it.